Hello everyone and welcome to QualityOldHomm. Today we are making another tier list, this time from Dungeons Creatures in Heroes of Might and Magic 3 Horn of the Abyss expansion. And the tier list is based on kind of a single player setting, so multiplayer aspects are not considered that much. Furthermore, also the unit's requirements and costs are taken into consideration in addition to its fighting capabilities. But without further ado, let's begin. Tier 1 units, Troglodytes, they're rather slow, they're rather weak, and that immunity to blindness is not that great. So I will give them a D tier here. So they pretty much don't have anything that would make them shine, despite they do have relatively high weekly growth, but still only D from me. Then we have the upgraded variant, Infernal Troglodytes. Well, the stats are a bit better, and most of all, in my opinion, is the improved speed. So that makes the unit somewhat more usable in battles. So I think I will give them C tier. So not completely as useless as the basic variant, but still perhaps on the weaker end of C tier for these guys. But of course in the early game you can use them, but I think one should prepare for rather heavy casualties when using them, because it's rather difficult to get those double strikes going, and the unit is relatively squishy there. Then let's move to tier 2, we have Harpies, and I think the basic Harpy variant is rather bad, to be honest. I mean, this is one unit where you should wait for the upgraded unit and then get it. The speed is relatively slow, and the unit stats are not that great. So basically, where this unit can shine is that if you can do the attack over the walls against the unit that has already used its retaliation, then perhaps you can find some value for these. But when they attack and they get retaliated and then they fly back, as they are rather slow, that special ability is kind of wasted in my opinion. So that's basically the reason for D tier. But when we get to the upgraded Harpy Hawks, I think they deserve a place in S tier. I mean, no retaliation is always really nice, and as they are rather fast, they can fly, and they have that they return to the starting point when they attack. That's really nice. And of course the damage variation is rather high with the unit, so they will benefit quite a bit from Bless, for example, and suffer quite a bit from Curse, but still offers quite a bit of tactical flexibility in battles. And you can play the early campaign rather confidently with these guys. They are kind of comparable to shooters, because you can fight most of the battles without suffering casualties, or at least too many casualties. So perhaps S tier, perhaps on the weaker side, but S tier nonetheless from me. Then let's move to tier 3 units. First we have Beholders, and I have to say that these are among my favorite shooter units. And I think one of the main reasons is, or a couple of main reasons are the relatively high growth, and then that they don't suffer melee penalty. And that's no melee penalty actually is quite nice. It makes the units much more flexible, and they don't need that much protection compared to other units that do have melee penalty. So I will give the basic variant Beholders B tier, but I think the Evil Eyes, the upgraded variant, has a bit higher speed, a bit better stats, and so on and so forth. I think they actually deserve a place in weaker side of A tier. So I will give them A. And mostly because of the high growth and the no melee penalty trait. So that's rather nice combination for a ranged unit. Then let's move to tier 4. We have Medusas. Yeah, shooters are always rather nice, but whereas I like these guys, I don't like these, I guess, girls. So I will give these guys, or girls, C tier. And the reasoning is that the unit is rather clunky. It takes 2 hexes. It has really small amount of ammunition or arrows. And, well, that big unit size makes it rather difficult to defend, to keep the melee attackers out from battle, or out from engaging it. And, well, the small amount of arrows is a problem, and the growth is rather, well, it's kind of average. So, yeah. Of course, the unit has the capability to petrify enemies in melee, but that's rather heavily RNG based, and if in bigger battle it actually succeeds in petrifying the enemy, that will actually cause it to waste 1 turn, because it has to move away from that unit, from the petrified unit, to be able to shoot again in the next turn. So it's kind of a double-edged sword, even that petrification. Of course, it's really useful in some cases, but in others, not so much. And, well, Medusa Queens, the stats are better, and most importantly, the speed is better, and the unit has more arrows, so I think I will give it B tier. Perhaps let's put it, well, somewhere around here. Perhaps not... let's put them before the Beholders. Yeah. Okay, then let's move to tier 5. We have first Minotaurs. I mean, solid enough unit, in my opinion. They don't have particularly high hit points, so they tend to go down eventually, but they do hit quite hard. And what's nice with Minotaurs is that they do have positive morale. So there is always that chance of an extra turn that can actually turn the tide in battles surprisingly often. And of course Minotaur Kings, an upgraded variant with somewhat higher stats, higher speed, and also that positive morale. I think they clearly deserve a place in A tier, one of the best tier 5 units in my opinion, or perhaps among the most enjoyable. Of course, there are some better ones, but still, in my opinion, really solid unit. Then let's move to tier 6. Firstly, we have Manticores. I mean, this unit really has nothing to write home about. So it's, well, the speed is kind of average, but the unit doesn't hit that hard, and it gets hit quite hard by the enemies. So for tier 6, I think it only deserves a place in C tier. Then let's move to the upgraded variant. We have Scorpicores, and the most notable improvement is the much higher speed. So the unit has chance to attack the opponent on the other side of the battlefield, especially if the opponent is 2 hexes wide unit. So that's really nice. Furthermore, it has that paralyze ability. Of course, RNG based, but when it triggers, it can actually turn the tide of the battle. And also the fighting capabilities, well, they're not that great, but at least a bit improved over Manticores. So I think these guys will get an A tier from me. And finally, we have tier 7. First we have Red Dragons. I mean, breath attack is nice. Immunity to spells from levels 1 to 3 is nice as well. And the unit is no joke in battle as well. So, in my opinion, relatively decent, though the requirements are rather high. So, that's a clear minus in my books, and furthermore, you cannot buff these units with those earliest level spells. So, that's kind of a minus as well, but overall, in my opinion, rather solid unit. rather kept down a bit by the high requirements Mage Guild level 2, in my opinion, is a bit expensive, especially considering that you need quite a bit of sulfur to build the Dragon Cave in the first place. So yeah, because of that, I think I will give it only some middle A tier. And then the final unit, Black Dragons. I mean, one of the best tier 7 units in the game, in my opinion. Magic immunity, relatively fast, breath attack, and 300 hit points. It's quite nice. So the unit hits hard, it can hit multiple targets, it cannot be targeted by spells, at least by default. And, well, the downside is that the unit is actually, or rather the requirements are dirty expensive. Tier 3 Mage Skill 2, expensive Tier 7 dwellings, the actual Dragon Cave and the upgrade variant also costs quite a bit of, especially the resources. But still, I think the unit actually is worth it in the game, so I will give it the S tier. So, this is my view of dungeon units, and of course I forgot to mention quite a bit of the evaluation is based on the How Good Is series I'm currently doing in Horn of the Abyss. So, there the unit's fighting capabilities are tested, also the different requirements and costs are taken into consideration. But do you agree or disagree with this view? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below. And thank you very much for watching. If you like the content, please leave a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Have a great rest of the day. QualityOldHomm out.